In this video, we are going to be taking another cheeky look at Ripple and XRP specifically. We're taking a look at some of the fantastic pieces of news that have been going around recently, and of course be getting into a little bit of the technical side to see what is likely to happen with XRP on the short term, and give you our thoughts and opinions on price expectations during 2021 and for the longer term. Guys, if you find this video useful and informative, go ahead and hit that like button. We both really do appreciate it. And of course, if you happen to be new to the channel and you would like to stay up to date with the new cryptocurrencies, the hidden gems, the technical analysis and news, then do go ahead and subscribe. By subscribing, you will be kept up to date with absolutely everything we do here. It is free, you'll stay well informed, so why not? Right, Chris, with this said, is there anything else you want to add before we jump on down and really get into the first piece of fantastic news here when it comes to XRP?
Yeah, just really interested to get people's views and opinions on what you think of the news. Let us know in the comments below.
Fantastic. Right, let's jump on down and get right on into it.
Let's do it.
Okay, guys, to start with, we have this. Amazon could definitely use XRP's ledgers federated sidechains according to Ripple CTO. So this is an interesting piece. Obviously, there's lots of speculation around Amazon, always has been. And again, this is just a fresh piece of news really around Amazon and what potentially could happen here. So let's see what Dave is talking about. So Amazon could potentially use XRP ledgers federated sidechains for its blockchain services, according to Ripple Chief Technology Officer David Schwartz. The executive told Thinking Crypto that the e-commerce giant certainly has the required infrastructure to make this happen. What we need to do is to create software that's clean and organized enough. Then I think it could be very competitive. So again, a lot of stuff going on here, lots of speculation. Obviously, Amazon Web Services kind of flag up a lot on Twitter with various different blockchain projects, but ultimately anyone can really partner up, if you want to call it that, with AWS. But this is totally different. This is talking about how basically Amazon itself, as the e-commerce giant, could use the XRP ledgers federated sidechains for its blockchain services. And this could be absolutely massive for blockchain as a whole, but also, specifically for XRP. Now, the architect of the XRP ledger says that he would like to get to the point where it's very, very easy to build upon the platform. Earlier this month, Schwartz proposed adding federated sidechains to implement smart contracts without affecting the security of the XRPL. He predicts that decentralized finance is going to be the biggest use case. Schwartz points out that it's up to the community to decide whether XRPL needs to have new features, since it's not a Ripple thing. And again, this is going to be really superly interesting to see how it plays out. But I find this a really key piece of news, and potentially what might be coming in the future, but also just about how important it is that we have that differential between Ripple and XRP, right? And ultimately, this is down to the community. Whether or not the XRPL needs this functionality, I do think actually having smart contract functionality, and then obviously being able to have some of these other functions, federated sidechains, etc., that could basically be leveraged by people like Amazon for blockchain services. I think this is a big key thing for the space, and hopefully you guys do think so too. So let us know in the comments below what you think about this, whether you think this is something that I think the XRP L ledger should actually have, and they should go down this route and all that kind of good stuff. With that said, let's move on to the second piece of news. So this is XRP might not be a security, according to the SEC Commissioner. Now, obviously, if you're in anywhere else in the world other than the United States, you're already going to know it's not a security. But the United States being the United States, they're still trying to sue for the hell of it. But ultimately, what you end up here is basically the SEC commissioner saying it might not be a security. So just to add confusion to it all, really. But let's get into it. What's going on here? So when asked about XRP's regulatory status during her recent Bloomberg interview, the US Security and Exchange Commissioner Hester Peirce basically said that the cryptocurrency doesn't necessarily have to be a security if its issuer gets sued by the agency. So again, this is 𝗕𝗘𝗪𝗔𝗥𝗘. I think this came out yesterday. Basically talking about how when we think about a crypto asset being a security, what we're doing is saying it's being sold as part of an investment contract, which means that there are promises being made around the sale of this asset. It doesn't mean that the asset itself necessarily has to be a security. It means that it was being sold as a security. And again, this is where there's lots of misunderstandings, right? So ultimately what you end up with is a scenario where the rest of the world, United Kingdom, for example, where it's an exchange token, not a security token or anything like that. And again, it comes down to how it's being sold, and they are right about this, the crypto mum here. So this is why, potentially Ripple, the early sales could be, deemed as security sales, but definitely not all of them. And this is also an important note if it's being sold from an exchange point of view, because there's no contract between the purchaser and the seller on the exchange. It's hard to say that that's a security sale, right? Whereas obviously Ripple, if they were selling XRP to, let's say, an investor at the real early stages, then that could be deemed as a security, right? But ultimately where we are right now, and to think that XRP is a security right now is kind of makes very, very little sense, little to no sense at all. So again, I feel that she's right, and she's interesting points of view here. And I think it's also worth maybe taking that step back and actually analyzing what Ripple have done at the early stages of their development through to where they are today. Definitely, in my opinion, XRP is not a security today, but it is potentially possible that some of those real early sales were absolutely sales of securities. And again, this is something that many of these other blockchain technologies would also have this problem, right? So when it comes to the SEC and versus Ripple, I do think that it'll end with settlement, and for many different reasons, it just appears that ultimately the SEC don't want to win, at least they're not trying as hard as they should be, if they wanted to actually succeed in this one. So I do feel it's going to end in settlement, and we'll find some kind of clarity at the end of it. But Ripple insists XRP is not an investment contract. And again, from right now, I totally agree. I do not think it is an investment contract at this point in time. The question just becomes, was it, when they first started? But I think what the SEC is trying to do here ultimately is problematic, and I just don't think actually they've gone about it in the right way. So again, interesting piece here, and again, it's really interesting to see from an SEC commissioner what might be or what might not be a security in that regard. Now, if we move on to another piece here, we have 148 million XRP shifted by top tier exchanges, while the coin has dropped down to about 70 cent, at least at the point of recording writing this article. So again, basically 148 million XRP moved by Binance and Bittrex. So again, interesting to see what's going on here. 50 million there, 39.3 million USD. So again, it's always good to understand where the volumes are going and all of that kind of stuff. So always worth kind of just bringing that up. And again, some interesting stuff also happened last week with RippleNet-based ODL corridor set up between Australia and Vietnam. So again, business as usual for the majority of the rest of the world when it comes to Ripple, RippleNet, XRP, and all of that kind of stuff. So again, here you see basically, this ODL corridor opening up between Australia and also Vietnam. So that's another fantastic piece of news for pushing further forward the goals of Ripple here, despite what's happening over in the US. Okay, so some fantastic things. Now, let's get into a little bit of what's going on today and what's likely to happen this week when it comes to the price of XRP. As we get into the Fear and Greed Index here, we can obviously see that we've actually gone up the scale a little bit today, but this was based on yesterday's performance. So we went from a Saturday rating of 21 to a Sunday rating of 23, if you will. And ultimately today, I imagine this is going to drop down again. So we've obviously seen significant price decreases with Bitcoin, and ultimately all these altcoins will be following because they are still tethered to Bitcoin at the moment. So we have extreme fear in the generalized crypto space at the moment, but it's important that we actually just focus in on what is happening with XRP specifically, right? So here we have advice.io. This uses artificial intelligence machine learning to derive its own unbiased machine-based rating system. So here we can actually see that we have a fear and greed index for XRP specifically, not just a generalized fear and greed index for the entire crypto space. So for an XRP case here, we actually have a rating of a D, which means there's extreme fear in the space for XRP. So again, this is actually aligned to the generalized fear and greed index at the moment. But it's good to understand if there are any differences on where things potentially are going to break out from the standard. So right now, we obviously can see that XRP is susceptible to this extreme fear. Lots going on over in the US, lots going on with Bitcoin, lots going on with crypto space as a whole. So ultimately, Ripple has been affected by this. And again, when we take a look at that 𝗕𝗓𝗪 ratio, it's quite clear to see that it's also rated to D. And this is, again, driven from liquidity issues. So when we take a look and we have a look at basically what's happening in the States with the exchanges delisting XRP and all these things, it's going to be an obvious one that the liquidity is going to be affected by this. And as a result, you do have an 𝗕𝗓𝗪 ratio that is also, at the lower end of the scale here. So fear and greed index rating D, we have 𝗕𝗓𝗪 ratio rating D. But we go down a little bit further here. We obviously have moving averages. Again, they're decreasing. So yes, you're going to have moving average rated D as well. But the peak end value demand is coming up at a B2 rating. And we have profitability up at A1 rating. So from a profitability point of view, where we've seen XRP move from really low values late 2020 up to where they are now just 6 months later, we can see that actually, there's huge amounts of profitability that has been generated, of a huge return on investment so far, with more still to come. Now, that with peak end value is obviously positive. But the Sharpe ratio is something we have to also acknowledge here, which shows us a risk to rewards by holding XRP. So right now, many of these cryptocurrencies are showing up a bit of an issue when it comes to the Sharpe ratio. And ultimately, what we're looking at here is potential risk to the rewards in the longer term. So right now, again, you want to be monitoring the situation to see how things are likely to perform, and ultimately whether or not you just want to hold all the way through, as tends to be my case in these times of things, and ultimately where things are likely to go moving forward. So for me, obviously, we can see here that there's lots of fear, and generally speaking, when there's fear in the space, you buy the fear. There's some fear you do not buy, but majority of the fear, when you're in a bull market as we are, that you do tend to buy that up. So when there's extreme fear, that's a buying opportunity. Liquidity issues, we can understand why that is. And obviously from a profitability, it's all looking pretty good. So once kind of that fear and the market kind of corrects itself out of this extreme fear situation, we should start seeing a bit of an impact to the Sharpe ratio and starting an increase to those risk to reward ratio. So it's always good to understand where we are and where we're sitting when it comes to XRP individually. And overall, it has a C2 rating. Okay, so now we have a bit of an understanding of, what kind of things have been happening fundamentally in the space around XRP, around the XRPL, and around obviously what's going on with XRP as a security. We also know that it's got a lot of fear in the space. We know that there's a bit of a liquidity issue, but there is still good profitability to be made here. Let's take a look and see what's going on in the chart. So here we can obviously see that we have XRP to the USDT. We're using the daily chart and Binance as the data source. Here we can see that we actually have our next target set up there at $2.79, just short of the all-time high area. And again, we are looking at a bit of a pullback. There is a good support line at 64.8 cents. And right now, Bitcoin's having a correction, and as is XRP. We take a look at our relative strength index just down at the bottom here. Let me actually make this a little bit clearer. I'll put that into a yellow color. Okay, so we can see that we are heading down to an oversold area. So the chances are that we actually will get a bounce from our 64.8 if we were to go down to it. From here, obviously, we can zoom out and we can see that we haven't really been in this oversold area for quite some time on this daily chart. So right now, things are looking pretty reasonable here from a daily point of view. Now that next target of $2.79 is the Fibonacci retracement and extension level, the first price target from the high level up here to the low level down on the 23rd of May. So again, this is looking like it should be something that we should be aiming for quite comfortably. The little yellow box here is the 618 to 702 and the 786 area that we want to get closed candle above this area in due course. So we have a bit of a short-term target and we have a bit of a longer-term target here to get us into a bit of a corrective action. Now, I do imagine that we're going to be trading in kind of sideways and downward trends for a little bit longer until Bitcoin gets corrected back to its original levels. So ultimately, we are expecting a little bit of volatility in the market when it comes to XRP as well. Now, if we go ahead and pull this down into our hourly view, here we actually get the Fibonacci retracement tool, so we can see exactly where we're likely to fall back down to, and ultimately what we're looking to get a closed candle into, just up here. And then obviously as we go move our way up, we can see our targets just at the top there. So when we take a look at this on the hourly view, there's a few things that are really interesting for us. One, obviously, we've had the pullback moving the price of XRP down. We're entering the world of oversold right now, which means this is going to be short-lived. And probably by the time this video actually goes out, we're starting to see some green candles moving to the upside. But it's also very important that we actually take a note of the volume, because as we spoke about being very fearful in the space, the sentiment in the market is something that's going to be susceptible to that fear. And as a result of this, what you're going to find is huge selling volumes pulling the price down. And as the price moves back up to the upside and gets this correction, as we increase our relative strength index, the volumes here are probably actually going to decrease, okay? And that will mean that we won't have a huge amount of price movement to the upside. Instead, we'll run out of steam pretty quickly as we find resistance. So I imagine that we're probably going to find resistance at about 73 cent, and that's the area that we'll probably then start to see another set of reversal. And by that point, what we'll have is good volume in here at the moment of selling volume. This will decrease, okay, with the relative strength index increasing to the overbought area as we approach 73 cent, and then we'll get that reversal coming back down. That's the expectation on the short term, guys. And again, it's something that's going to be short-lived. This whole correction state is kind of coming to a bit of a close now. And I say this because when we take a look at our daily, right, and we take a look at that relative strength index, there's not too much further that XRP can fall before it's oversold on the daily chart. And that daily chart being oversold, there's going to be a huge swing to the upside shortly. So when we take a look at these at smaller time frames, you might find lots of other YouTubers kind of looking in at the hourly, the 4 hourly. They're going to show you that you can be oversold and overbought very, very quickly. On the daily chart, it's not something that actually happens very, very fast. It's something that's a gradual, slow process to get down to an oversold location, likewise when overbought. So ultimately, when we're looking at this XRP chart right now and we're seeing that the relative strength index is at 33.5, there's not too much further to fall down before you're oversold on the daily chart. And this is actually a really positive because it means that most of the pain's already come and gone, and there's going to be another kind of slow motion and push to the upside over probably in the next few months, where we start to see the price of XRP gradually grow as we gradually grow the relative strength index back to an overbought area, and that's where things really start to get interesting. So when we start thinking about what's likely to happen here, it looks like we're actually starting to come to a bit of a close on the downside. We have obviously got some good support at 64.8. If it were to fall any lower than that, there's a few additional areas of support on the way down, but we haven't got too much further to fall before we are truly oversold on this daily chart, and we'll get that huge reversal to the upside over the next few months. And again, when we start thinking about where we are in the bull cycle, we speak about this all the time in regard to the fact that we are about halfway through. The second half of this year is going to see some phenomenal gains. And again, when we take a look at XRP, and we'll just pull this up into our weekly, we have obviously those short-term targets, but we also have those longer-term targets as well. The ones that we can obviously see here with the Fibonacci retracement and extensions, we can see $15.89 as one of the potential outcomes here for XRP during this bull run. So right now, everything is kind of going to plan. We obviously have some interesting short-term things happening on the hourly, where we are expecting a bit of a pullback. We obviously are expecting that the correction here for XRP is coming to a close as we are entering an oversold area. And again, this weekly chart shows us some interesting growth potential as we move the price of XRP up towards those fantastic highs of $15.89. But that's only one of many outcomes. Imagine if Amazon did want to use the XRP ledger and it did want to, start using things. What do you think would happen to the potential price then? What about this mass adoption? What about banking using XRP as that bridge currency? There's so many potentials here with XRP that the charts here and the technical data just does not quite support. But one of the things that we can see quite clearly here within the technicals is that $15.89 is a real possibility. Fantastic. Guys, if you found this video useful and informative, do go ahead and hit that like button. We both really do appreciate it. And of course, if you happen to be new to the channel and you'd like to stay up to date with those new cryptocurrencies, the hidden gems, the technical analysis and news, then do go ahead and subscribe. By subscribing, you will be kept up to date with absolutely everything we do here. It is free. You'll stay well informed. So why not? With that said, done and out of the way, guys, we'll hope you have a fantastic day and we'll catch you in the next one.
Yeah, take care.